everybody, and welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast, where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. I'm Ace Edwards, right alongside
Connor Baltazar.
And today, wow, we got quite a bit of recruiting news to cover, don't we?
That we do.
And we have a lot of really, really exciting recruiting news to cover as well. This isn't some random recruiting news where it's just some, 2-star who will end up playing like a 5-star. No, we have a legitimate 5-star to talk about. And then, of course, we have the Batcats and the wacky segment of the week. But let's just dive straight into recruiting news, starting off with men's basketball. If you were listening to this show, odds are you know what happened, and that is the commitment of 5-star combo guard David Castillo from Bartlesville, Oklahoma. And this was one that if you were on the message boards, you kind of knew about a while in advance. That does not take away from the fact that it is extremely exciting that it took Tang exactly 1 year to get a 5-star and the number one player in Oklahoma and the third best combo guard and the 20th best player in the country, according to 24/7 Composite. And well, Connor, first off, what do you have to say about David Castillo as a player? Because you are much more well-versed in the basketball realm than I.
I love David Castillo's game. Truly the only downside with him physically is that he is slightly shorter than you'd like at 6'1". Although that's his listed height, he's probably closer to 6 foot. He's still a junior in high school, so he might grow a little bit more, but we'll see. But that honestly hardly matters because he is an unbelievable shooter. His release time is he's got a really quick trigger. He can hit threes at a high rate, both and spot up, receiving a pass. But also he is really effective at hitting threes off the dribble, which many people have astutely pointed out that that's something we lacked this past year. Sans Marquise to a certain degree. But David Castillo, I would venture to say he's an elite shooter as things stand. And on top of that, he is a combo guard. So he's naturally a point guard. He looks the part of a point guard. He's obviously not Marquise Noel. I think we're always going to be, our era of fans is always going to be measuring future point guards and their passing ability with Marquise, which is not fair at all.
Yeah, that's not fair
to all
that
future point guards. But that's what's going to happen. He has some flashy pass potential. He's got really great court vision. And he's able to penetrate, kick the ball out, and also space himself pretty well. He's really instinctual as a player. He can score at every level. Again, I've said he has a super quick release. Sometimes he's a little bit over-reliant on his right hand when going for a layup, but that's something that can be fixed with a guy as talented as him. And that's not because he won't drive to the left. It's just that he finishes with the right when he's going left sometimes, which is, it doesn't really matter at this level because he is better than everybody. But
yeah,
but he's a fantastic player and he's absolutely worthy of that 5-star rating.
Yeah, I basically I agree with everything that you said, and just I was almost at a loss for words when it happened, and I still kind of am, because I never really bought the whole "it's impossible to recruit to Manhattan" thing. Like that's a narrative that I never really agreed with, whether it came from fans, whether it came from opposing fan bases. I never bought it. But I think that you may as well just call it an arson, because that take is just on fire, and Jerome Tang is holding the can of gasoline. It's you get a 5-star to Manhattan, Kansas to play basketball, and it only took 1 year. And this is a big part of what I think Tang is capable of. Because I don't he's obviously proven his recruiting chops even before this by landing KJ out of the portal. But and maybe some other portal entries that we'll talk about in 5 to 7 minutes. But it's just insane to me how quickly he and his staff, because it's obviously not all Jerome Tang. He's amazing, but he can't do everything. It's Uric Malagy, it's Dream Dowling, it's Austin Carpenter, it's Curtis Kelly, or I'm missing one that I really wanted to cover. It was the one they called Jerome Yang.
Kevin Sutton.
Yeah,
And there's
Kevin
also
Sutton.
Marco Bourne and Rodney Perry as well. I mean, if we're gonna shout out 3/4 of the staff, we might as well cover all other bases. Anthony Winchester as well.
Yeah. It's the entire staff that's contributing to this. And it truly is a special staff. You know, you obviously have the special first year within an Elite Eight run, and although that run didn't end as well as I'm sure all of us wanted it to, this is a proof that this isn't a staff that's going to rest on their laurels. They're going to continue to recruit at a high level. And there are very few coaches that I genuinely believe when they say their goals are to win national titles. I believe that is Jerome Tang's goal. And I don't think it is as absurd a goal as some people want to say it is.
He's been pretty upfront with his first few press conferences. He, I think, was a little bit more tame on the expectations. So I think he knew he kind of had to ease us into it. Because at first he was like, this team or this program should be making the NCAA tournament like 3 out of every 4 years or something like that. But he very quickly ramped up to, with recruits, he's pitching a national title, and an Elite Eight run, I think, gives you enough, an Elite Eight run in your first season, I think, gives you enough legitimacy to realistically sell, like, hey, look what we did in year 1 with a Island of Misfit Toys roster that was put together to become great. Imagine, what we're going to do with guys that everybody already wants, and guys that fit our system like David Castillo does, because David Castillo really comes off like a Baylor guard to me. I think he's very similar, elite shooter from the outside, still very athletic, and then also maybe needs a bit of defensive work. So a lot of traits of Baylor guards with David Castillo, the good and the bad. But I think you can realistically sell that national title shot at this point, especially with a lot of talent coming back, even though you're losing Keontae Johnson. We always knew that we were going to.
Yeah.
And
Technically, he hasn't announced it yet.
He technically hasn't. That really doesn't mean anything.
No, that means nothing.
I mean, Keontae Johnson, he's like 24, 25, and age matters even more in the NBA at times, in terms of getting you drafted. So he's already on the outside looking in that regard. He'll be drafted, but if he stayed another year, I don't think he gains anything from it.
No.
Other than becoming,
make us happy.
Other than making the Aggieville Alleycats super happy. I don't know what else he gains. But David Castillo, I'm super, super stoked about that commitment. I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the 24 class comes together, because we don't see these guys for a while. I did see a bit of confusion about that. He's not going to be on campus in this summer. That's next summer. He's a class of 2024. So he's a year away from graduating. He is coming up on his senior year of high school.
Yeah.
So not quite yet for David Castillo, but we're looking ahead.
Yeah. Speaking of looking ahead, we don't have to look as far ahead for the next little bits of news, and that is the Oral Roberts transfer, Max Asmus. Yes, that is how you pronounce that name. According to Connor earlier, it's a German thing, and the German letter didn't transfer over. Okay. He's currently as we're recording this, he's currently on his visit to Texas. However, there have been multiple projections, including was it Field of 68, or it it was some really big podcast where they said like, who's going to make a bigger impact in the transfer portal, X guy or Max Asmus to K State, and everyone was like, huh, what do you know? So Asmus is projected to come our way. Um, yeah, I enjoy that actually because I think he's rated the number 2 player in the portal. I would like that. Obviously, things can still change, but you know, I would enjoy if he committed.
Personally, I would as well. But
I would
we
allow
we
it even.
yeah, I also would allow it. There's been a lot of conflicting information on Max Asmus because there's been people that have straight out come out and said that they think he's committing to Texas or that they've heard he's committing to Texas. But we've heard the same thing with Max Asmus to K State, maybe even to a slightly higher degree. But I think some of that speaks to the volatility of recruiting in the transfer portal. It's much more quick. Most people are not in the portal very long. So all of the ebbs and flows that you would get with a really long, drawn out high school recruiting, you're getting in a month, sometimes less, with portal recruiting. A guy like Kirk Risa from Arizona. He entered the portal and was at West Virginia. Did not take very long for that. Jesse Edwards also goes to West Virginia out of Syracuse. He had a top 3 named in like 3 days and was
Yeah.
West Virginia committed in like 10 days. So things ebb and flow way faster with portal recruiting. So some of the reporting probably has something to do with that. Maybe Asmus starts out liking Texas and then kind of flows to K State. Maybe he still hasn't picked either way. Maybe he is leaning K State, but if he joined K State next year, that would be absolutely massive. He's one of the guys that you and I mentioned as it was him and LJ Cryer at the time, who has since committed to Houston. That you get one of those two guys that does incredible things for your roster.
Also, that was a complete guess when I projected LJ Cryer to go to Houston over K State. That was a complete guess.
To be fair, there were a lot of indications about him going to Houston, but they were older. I know, and the fact that he entered the portal and stuff was coming out of us about us being interested in him was kind of interesting. But he he was a highly sought after prospect that again another guy didn't take very long to make his choice.
Yeah,
So we'll be seeing him again regardless.
true.
Uh, although hopefully it won't be too much different from how he did against us this year. He generally wasn't. I think he wasn't very good at both times we faced him. So hopefully we're able to contain him yet again when he's at Houston. But yeah, Max Asmus, I was gonna say I can't imagine getting a more impressive commit in the transfer portal, but if you're going out the rankings, there is one. I don't know who it is, but there's allegedly one that would be better.
They're probably already committed. But
Yeah.
the next one is Tyler Perry. His initial, I think it was top 6 or something, did not include K State, but he released a new top 4. I believe it was yesterday or the day before, which did include us. It was us, Ole Miss, Florida State, and someone else. The someone else kind of tells you where the what we've been hearing thing. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, the fact that we made such a rapid comeback is very encouraging, I would say. Again,
Yeah.
I don't know. Transfer portal's weird.
Yep. I think that's the one thing that we can hit home the most in this segment is that the portal is so unpredictable. But Tyler Perry's another guy that would be a fantastic ad. Pretty similar to Max Asmus, not as prolific a scorer, but arguably a more efficient one. Um, Tyler Perry, he shot, I think, 41-ish% from 3 last year, 44% from the field, and then about 88, 89 from the free throw line. So he's a really effective shooter, very similar to honestly David Castillo in that regard. But he was at North Texas, and so he was on the same team where Dream Dowling used to coach, and probably he'll bring him there from Coffeyville Community College. But yeah, Tyler Perry, he would be a massive get. And for the record, 44% field goal, 41% from three, 87 at the free throw line. Is Tyler Perry on 34 minutes a game. So a lot to really like with him. Another really fantastic scorer. So I hope that we're able to get one of Ace Smith and Tyler Perry. Maybe both.
If we
They're
get
both
both,
such
I'll be smiling actually.
they're both good enough scorers that even though they're both a little bit more undersized and I think you'd love ideally, I think that you take them anyways because they're both so good at scoring and see if you can convince it'd be tough to start both of them, I think. But see if you can get Tyler Perry to buy into like a Desi Sills type of role. Maybe that's not realistic. And if he says no, then just say okay and start him anyways because
Yeah,
he's just that good. And
probably
even though
can
they're
kick
both
Cam.
undersized, I mean, we just played a whole season with Marquise Noel as 5'8" at point guard, and it didn't really cause that many issues. So,
Yeah,
I don't really have an issue with playing shorter guys. I get ideally you want to all your players to be taller, but you do what you do with what you can get.
yeah, yeah. I think that's a good place to sort of leave it off. Next week's episode will actually be record. It'll be coming out a day earlier because Connor and I will be attending the NFL draft in Kansas City. Probably taking public transport.
Yeah,
Yeah,
taking the streetcar.
we're taking the streetcar. Yeah, there's an in joke there, but the next little bit is football recruiting, and that is Captain Price from Call of Duty. John Price from Stillwell, Kansas. It's Blue Valley. It's another Blue Valley commit, and this one's at running back. He's a 3-star, 0.8747 on the composite 24/7, and 88 on just 24/7's in-house. He's the fourth best player in Kansas via composite, third via 24/7 Sports. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Connor and I sort of came to this consensus as soon as he committed. There is a non-zero chance that John Price ends up being a 4-star back. And the only reason why he's a 3-star right now is because he got hurt at the end of last year. Now, what makes us say that? Well, firstly, fun fact about me is my favorite trait in a running back is vision. I, as something falls in my kitchen, it.
For the record, I could not hear it. So
Oh, okay. Well, I just outed myself anyway. But my favorite trait in a running back is vision and the ability to find running lanes that are not immediately obvious. You know what John Price is really, really damn good at? That. He's able to manipulate his way and finagle his way through absolute garbage running lanes to bust out like a 5 or 6 yard gain. That's so unbelievably difficult to do. So that's my favorite trait. Connor, I know you really, really want to talk about your favorite trait with him, and a lot of that has to do with the highlight tape. So I'll let you sort of talk
yeah.
about that.
For the record, I'm glad to hear that you love his ability to sift through the trash because I had the pressure of watching his film first and drafting the commitment tweet. And I was like, I know that that's your favorite trait in running back. So when I told you it, I was like, I really hope I'm right. But because you're much better at that at football evaluation than most. So I was like, I really hope that this goes well. It did. Turns out my eyes did not deceive me because he is fantastic at it. But my
You
personal,
can indeed use
yeah,
your eyes. Good job.
sometimes if I have my contacts in, yes, but otherwise no. And then my favorite trait from him is probably just his athleticism slash agility. The very first clip on his highlight tape is him hurdling a guy mid game, and a little later in that tape, he jukes a guy, like jab step jukes a guy into just a completely different dimension. Like you can literally watch the turf kick up from the guy's ankles that he broke, like as he's like sliding across the like field. Like John Price as a recruit has an unusually uh packed tool bag
Mhm.
of things he can do.
Especially for a
He
3-star.
yeah, for a 3-star, I will get on the soapbox for however long I need to that John Price is a 4-star prospect. I think he's supremely underrated right now, despite being not even disrespected in the ratings. An 88 on the 24/7 in-house. That makes him top 3 in Kansas. So that's not exactly a bad rating. That's actually quite good compared to when we first started covering the show. That he would have been one of the best recruits
Yeah.
in that class from that first year. But he should be one of the best in this class in terms of quality of athlete. But he's so athletic, he's so agile, he's still really strong as well. It's unusual to see a running back display as much power as he does while also being able to juke around people and manipulate tacklers into bad angles, um, sifting through the trash. He has incredible vision at the offensive line and is great at finding the hole. The only trait he has that is not above average to elite is probably speed, which is average, I would say. He's not a burner. He's not slow, but he's probably someone that's looking at the high 4.5 to 4.6 range in terms of speed. But I also think the staff has displayed that they don't particularly care for running backs a burner because they're not saying, "Oh, we only want a guy that can break off a 60-yarder or something like that." Even Deuce isn't even a complete burner.
Mm-mm.
He
Ran
runs in the 4.5.
4.54.
Yeah, which is good speed, but it's not burner speed. Burner speed for me is anything like sub 4.4. And but John Price, very, very, very impressive prospect that I hope he gets the respect he deserves in uh free rankings on the recruiting services upcoming. I hope he has a healthy senior season because he did deal with a bit of injury, as far as I'm aware, in his junior campaign. So I am hopeful that he is able to have a full and healthy senior year to display the talent level that he possesses because he could be a monster, I think.
Yeah. And I like I agree with you in that the most obvious trait that is not great. It's not bad. It's just sort of good, solid. Is his speed. The other thing is his catching ability, his receiving ability. Only registered 13 catches, which granted he was averaging 10 yards a catch, getting 13.9 yards per catch. But at the same time, this is one of these cases where if you go back a year and just look at the running back who will be just 1 year in front of him, that's Joe Jackson. The number one thing we said about Joe Jackson the entire time was Joe Jackson is an insane receiving back.
He's
Like we,
basically a receiver that happens to run the ball.
yeah, like
That's
we,
how good of a receiving back he is.
like I was speculating that he could play, like he would be playing slot receiver, and I wouldn't hate if he did. And the two things that Joe Jackson is exceptional at is his speed and his receiving ability. So, in other words, this has completed the running back room for the near future. And this year it's completed with Trayshawn Ward and DJ Giddens and a little bit of Tony Frias. Year after that, I imagine Ward's probably gone. You still have Giddens and Jackson. Year after that, you have Jackson and Price. So like there's a very clear progression here for RB1 and 2. And every year, RB2 is going to eventually become the RB1 that is going to be immediately complemented by the back that is going to be their RB2. And I think John Price is the perfect example of that. Because, yes, I still think that though Joe Jackson is a better receiver, I I don't think he'll be a bad between the tackles runner. I just don't think that's necessarily going to be his game. But again, it's a very clear and obvious progression that Price can come in and be that between the tackles back. The back that's going to use his vision to manipulate backers into horrible positions. And then you don't have to outspeed someone if you can outposition someone, especially at the running back position. It's not like receiver where it's just always a one-on-one. Like that's why run fits are so fascinating to some people. They're not my favorite thing to chart. That's someone else. But yeah, I love the pickup of John Price as the fourth or fifth commit in
Fifth.
24. Fifth. Because it's Hawkins, Howard, Stonebreaker, Price. Who am I missing?
Barnett.
Barnett. Oh yeah, you just forget the quarterback. Anyway. Yeah,
But
Barnett's an alien, so
yeah, he athletically is. I admit I underestimated Blake Barnett. He truly has deceptive speed. Like that's not even like a joke. Like I was completely fooled.
got you.
He did. He got me for reasons that we'll never know. But he's really good. But this is about John Price. I love John Price. He's gonna. I haven't decided yet if he knocks off Hawkins for my favorite commit of the class. Because I love Gus Hawkins, even though he is the highest rated guy, so it's like kind of cheating, but I still think he's underrated. But John Price is up there right now, and I absolutely love John Price. His highlight tape is a lot of fun. It's only like 5 minutes,
Go
so
watch it. It's
if you
so worth
decide you
it.
want you if you decide you want to watch a guy be significantly better than everybody around him for 5 minutes straight, then go watch some John Price highlights.
It's great. So that is football recruiting. Now we have a little bit of women's basketball transfer news, and that is the brand new transfer from Louisville, Ziana Walker. She was from Louisville, no, born in Kansas, played in Kansas, went to Louisville for her freshman season, and she was the Gatorade Player of the Year in Kansas, in her recruiting class. So you think, well, she must have been pretty solid in high school. What were her stats? She averaged, just under 26 points a game, 8 rebounds, nearly 6 assists, and 5 steals. That's an average.
Not bad.
What? like I this is, and we would provide a more in-depth report if we're going to say it every single time we cover news like this. If it were possible for us to do so, we would certainly be doing it. But just looking at that high school stat line and the fact that she had ridiculous offers even in the portal, that is that's a really massive pickup because it isn't one of those like, one and done pickups either. This is a pickup that will last into a few years considering how she's probably a redshirt freshman. Uh
I think it depends on if she could get any sort of medical red shirt for this year. I'm not sure if she was hurt this year or if she just wasn't playing. But she only played in 5 games for a total of 52 minutes. I do wish the NCAA for basketball had a requirement or like a red shirt limit to where you could keep your red shirt year. It doesn't matter as much in basketball because people don't red shirt that much anyways.
no.
But she only played 52 minutes. I feel like there should be a minute cap for
Yeah.
redshirting as opposed to like a game cap because I think minutes just make more sense for basketball.
Yeah.
But it is unfortunate. So she'll either be a sophomore or a redshirt freshman. But yeah, didn't produce a ton at Louisville. Again, that was a stacked team this year. She was playing behind one of the best players in the country, Haley Van Lith. So not exactly a clear path to immediate playing time, but she's a guard. Only scored 13 points this season, but was 6 of 10 from the field, attempted 2 threes, made one of them. Only had one turnover, only had one assist, had 13.7 rebounds on very limited action. But regardless, former Kansas Gatorade Player of the Year coming back home. That's a big recruiting win. And I'm really really excited to see what she can do for K-State because she has the potential to really have a fantastic career at K-State if she can remain healthy and reach her full potential.
Yeah. And not to turn this into a women's basketball preview episode, but we've been saying that next year's team has the chance to be special. and I truly mean special. And you know, the talent on this roster, I truly, in my heart, believe that the if it was based purely off of talent, the talent on this roster could make a national title run and even win it.
Yeah.
Whether or not they do that is up for debate. But this next year should be an insane team. And I think they still have one open scholarship spot because of Emily Ebert graduating, Mimi Gatewood and Taylor Lauterbach both transferred out,
Yeah.
I
And
think.
then also Sarah Shematsky graduated as
Oh
well.
yeah, Shmatzi
So there are
graduated.
4 open spots. Then I believe we have 2 high school recruits.
Taryn Sides and
Alexis Hess.
Alexis Hess.
Those are I might be forgetting someone, but that's what I can think of right now. So we might have room for one more. TBD.
Yeah. But that seriously, next year's women's team could be something really special and at minimum will be fun to watch.
So
I don't
much talent on that team. Because you're gonna have I'll run down the highlights right now. It's Ayoka Lee, Gabby Gregory, Serena Sundell, Eliza Maupin, the Glenn twins. That enough is that's NCAA tournament talent right there alone, without even factoring in potential role players stepping up and whatnot. So I'm really, really, really excited for women's basketball next year. I think you're right. I think they have a chance to be special.
yeah. I Oh, it's like when you get so deep into your like NCAA 14 rebuild that you're just like you have 90 overall recruits every single like in every position. So you're like, well, who do I start? That's genuinely the problem of like, well, who do I start?
Yeah. Um, because you have to find a way to get Eliza Moppet on the floor. I think. I think that you have to start her probably.
Yeah.
Um, so then you're left with, of course, Sundell's going to start. Gregory's going to start. One of the Glenn twins is going to have to sit on the bench to
Yeah.
start games and be the 6th person.
They're gonna have to be the female Desi. And if I had to guess, it's
Yeah.
probably Briley.
I think you're probably right. Maybe they'll just like flip a coin before every game or something. I'm not really sure, but I don't know. It's good to have 2 of them, I guess.
Yeah. Can you okay, last note. Can you imagine the sheer amount of bullying that is going to occur with Ayoko Lee and Eliza Maupin on the court at the same time?
That's just not going to be fair at all. Because I mean, I'm they're 2 completely opposite post players. Because I mean, Okali is a back to the basket, around the basket, incredible finisher at the rim. And then Eliza Maupin is just freak athlete that will simply go past you because she's just better than you are
Yeah.
at being athletic and good. So that'll be a really interesting dynamic, I think. I'm interested to see how Jeff Mittie ends up working that out, because he does have the rare good problem of having more talent than you can start,
Yeah.
which has been a rare sight for women's basketball. So I'm very excited to see what happens.
Yeah. So that is all of the recruiting news. Now we can go into the Batcats news, including the Sunflower Sweep of KU in Lawrence. And again, we're not going to go as in depth game by game because we actually had stuff to cover this week other than this, but we'll go over the highlights. The sweep went in order of 5-4, 6-1, and then 21-18. We'll talk about it in a minute. But the first game win ends up getting credited to Ty Rule, Tyson Neighbors with the save. Correction from last week. Sources very close to Tyson Neighbors have corrected me. He is not married. So correction there. Someone misread the article. That someone was me. So,
My sources are confirming the same thing for what it's worth.
but yeah. So this one was a little bit of a comeback victory. And of course, it ended, the winning run was scored, as we all expected it to be, by a Roberto Pena squeeze bunt.
Where everyone advanced.
Yeah, where everyone advanced. I think it just surprised them because when I saw him square up, I thought he was taking. I thought he was doing the thing where that all of them have started doing, where if they're going to take a pitch, they're just going to pretend to bunt. No. Roberto Pena was legitimately squeeze bunting.
Yeah, I don't think they expected the guy slugging 545 to just lay a bunt down. And
It's
frankly,
fair.
I don't blame them.
No, not at
That's not
all.
that's not an irrational thing to think. So, but he's been super effective as of late. And he's been it's been really great to watch him finally kind of come out of that slump, because that slump he was in was brutal.
Yeah.
But he seems to have started to emerge a little bit more and uh, be a bit more consistent, at least to a certain degree. But yeah, him laying down that squeeze bunt out of absolutely nowhere, but super happy to see it.
Yeah. Other notable performances include Nick Goodwin's 2 RBI off of his home run. And outside of that, Cash usually had the aesthetically appealing stat line of 4 ABs, 1 run, 1 hit, 1 RBI, 1 walk, 1 strikeout, and 1 left on base. That is, I don't like the fact that he left someone on base, but to complete the aesthetically pleasing stat line, I'll accept it. We won the game. So
Yeah.
yeah, this was there isn't a whole lot to talk about. Owen Borma ends up going 5 2/3, giving up 4 runs, 7 strikeouts, walking 3. So a fine outing. Doesn't quite get the quality start. Ty Rule returned back to his Big 12 championship series form last year. He goes 2 1/3, no runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Never really any big threats with Tyrul in this game. And if we got this Tyrul every single game, I'd be exceedingly happy. That tone tells you that's going to come back up later. But and then, of course, Tyson Neighbors comes in for the ninth inning save, getting his sixth on the year. He only throws 9 pitches to retire the side and end the hopes of KU on the first game. Anything else you want to talk about for the first game of Sunflower Showdown?
Tyson almost had an immaculate inning.
Yeah, I know. I was so upset about that. I was so upset that he didn't get the immaculate inning.
Yeah, it was the first one was the 3 pitch strikeout. Then it was a 4 pitch ground out, and then a 2 pitch uh, fly out. So he was very, very close. Because isn't it? It has to be 3 per batter. Like,
No,
uh,
immaculate inning is a. This was actually the next day. The immaculate inning is 3 strikeouts on 9 pitches.
that's it. So he did finish the inning on 9 pitches, but it was not an immaculate inning.
Yeah, that would come on the next day, or it would come very close to happening. This was another obviously victory in the sweep. It was a 6-1 victory in favor of K State. The This one was another one where Tyson Neighbors came in with a 5 run lead and almost had the immaculate inning. Unfortunately, the last batter decided that he wanted to be a coward and fly out instead of strike out. I still stand by the analogy I used in the live tweeting that putting Tyson Neighbors in the game with a 5 run lead is like using a nuclear bomb to kill a housefly. I don't I especially when they'd only scored 1 run, I don't think that was entirely necessary. But also I got to see Tyson Neighbors pitch, so that was cool.
Yeah, that's always a fun occurrence whenever Tyson gets to pitch.
Yeah, I think this was one of the first time that it almost looked like a screwball because it broke to his hand side. I'd never seen him throw that before, and it broke way too much to be a changeup. So
He's
I've
just
never
up there
seen him do
trying
that.
stuff.
He's just up
That's a solid.
he's up 5. He didn't care. But this was started by Herman Fajardo. He gives another one of his better performances. 6 innings, 1 earned run, 5 strikeouts, 100 pitches. So he gets his quality start. And then Blake Corsentino enters. He doesn't give up anything. He ends up striking out 3. So, and then of course Neighbors. So all in all, really, really solid day for pitching. You could have guessed that just by looking at the box score. But This was also the game that had the meme that blew up with the Major League clip that we posted with Cayenne
Yeah,
Lotus just absolutely decimating a ball to left center. Uh-oh.
that was so funny. I can't believe he said that on the air. Just going,
Uh-oh.
oh.
Uh-oh.
But yeah,
That
that
uh-oh will
that
live in
ended up blowing up.
history, dude.
Yeah, blowing up for our standards, I guess, at 145 likes.
Oh, this is also the game where we ended up ratioing the KU baseball game.
That will be a memory that I cherish forever,
I'm framing it.
as you should.
Yeah, any other offensive standouts you want to point out, Connor?
Brady Day went 3 for 5, and generally the entire weekend was awesome.
Yep.
So shout out Brady Day.
Then Nick Goodwin, 2 for 4, 3 RBI. Yeah. Pelletier, 2 for 4. Brendan Jones, 1 for 4. The big stat that, to find something to complain about, because no game is perfect. We did end up leaving 11 on base. Roberto Pena ended up leaving 4 just by himself. In a perfect world, I would really like to see the left on base numbers be limited to somewhere between 5 and 8. I think that's the more sustainable number, and 8 is getting up there. Okay. I would make myself okay with anything from 5 to 7. And like, other than that, I think it's getting a bit too high to where it's not sustainable to win that way. It didn't matter
Yeah,
today. It didn't matter, but
no, yeah, I do think that you're right. But I guess now we get to talk about the fun game
yeah, we
that
get
also
to.
wasn't fun. It was a mix of things.
You and I went through such a roller coaster of emotions this game. Yeah, this was the 21-18 baseball game. And God, where do you even start? I don't.
I I'm not really sure where to start with this, honestly. Brady Day went 3 for 5 again and drew 2 walks.
Yeah. Roberto Pena hit one of the most monstrous home runs of the
Yeah.
season.
Unfortunately, the KSU analytics account did not tweet it out, which I'm a little upset about.
I am as well. But I guess we can start with the fun part, and that is in the second inning, K State scored 13 runs.
Normal occurrence.
Yeah, normal occurrence, and we were both exceedingly happy about this. And then the third inning happened. It's like, okay, well, KU just responded by hitting a grand slam. Well, that's not what you want.
Not at all.
So you end up going into the fourth inning. It's 13-7. The fourth inning. Oh, we come right back and respond. We end up scoring 4 more runs in the fourth inning. Oh, okay, it's 17-7. And then it's slowly like K State's done scoring after the eighth, and then KU just keeps adding on runs. This was a day that neither pitching staff could really do anything at all. And part of that is just the day itself. What did they say the winds were going out?
The it was gusting to probably be close to
30 or 40.
I'd say it was probably gusting 40, and it was pretty consistently 25 to 30.
Yeah.
And it was
So
blowing directly out from home plate. So everything was fair game, as opposed to like I told you a lot of times the wind's blowing either to right field or to left field. But on this particular day, it was just anything that got up in the air stood a shot at getting out of the park.
yeah, a fly ball is a home run. So Cole Johnson ended up recording 3 doubles. Brendan Jones had 1. Cayenne Lotus hit another missile to dead center. KC, Kalen Culpepper, ends up getting 2 home runs. Roberto Pena obviously gets his. And Nick Goodwin ends up getting hit by a pitch twice. Kalen Culpepper can't catch a damn break. He ends up getting hit in the same injured hand. And there was a part of me that died inside because this is the second weekend in a row this has happened. He just needs a break, like cosmically, he needs a break.
That he does.
But
Uh,
I, you can talk a little bit about the pitching performances that we've had here.
yeah, pretty much no one had a good day other than Tyson Neighbors, I guess. He went 2 innings, only allowed one unearned run, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk, which like for his standards, that's not a fantastic outing, I think, but it's still the best outing of the day. Colin Rothermel gave up 6 runs. They were all unearned, which is just
Yeah.
an absolute shame because
Oh
that all
my
came from an
God.
error on the throw by Nick Goodwin. Normally, I would grill him for the errors. I It really was annoying at in the moment, but the wind was just so crazy that it's hard to be that mad at him. Like plus, like we committed 2 errors, KU committed 4. So
Yeah.
like I'm not gonna lose my mind at Nick Goodwin. A lot of the in between pitching performances were not very great. Shea Hart has had a rough outing. Just to be fair, that he was the worst pitcher to put out there because he's a pure power pitcher. He's filling the strike zone with fastballs. That's not the guy that should be pitching on a day with like 40-mile-per-hour winds,
No.
catching everything because he's just going to induce a lot of fly balls, and every fly ball was getting knocked out of the park. So when we put in Kyler Haney, he did better. He went 2 innings, 4 strikeouts, only 2 runs, which is good for this day. And I think he was more suited to that. Ty Rule came in, had probably one of his worst, if not his worst outings on the year. Just did not look himself. And then Tyson Neighbors finished off the job. But at the very least, our pitching was better than KU's. KU went through 9 pitchers in this game. They were doing absolutely everything they could to not put in their main relievers. But they kept kind of getting back into it, so they just ended up having to use them. But really, really rough showing for most of the KU pitching staff. Um, so it went well for the batters, I guess. Today was a batters.
Hitting had a great day.
Yeah, hitting was fantastic. I mean, the scoring summary on the box score doesn't fit onto a single page.
No.
So the batters had a fantastic day. But pitching, it's tough to draw a conclusion on them from that game just because that's such an outlier of a game in all facets. Yeah, it was super annoying, and I was very annoyed at the pitching in the moment. But with the gift of hindsight and clarity, I don't know what else they could have done, honestly.
Yeah. Yes, that I'm not gonna lie to you. I was sick of this game by like the sixth inning. I was
I
tired.
was too. This ended up being a 4 hour and 10 minute game after 2 games that went about 2.5 hours before it. This game was on pace to be like a 5 hour affair at one point. So I'm happy that the scoring slowed down a little bit, and we even had the 7th inning, no one scored, which was incredible. I think we even had a 3 up, 3 down inning in there at one point, but I
I think that was the seventh.
think you're right. I think that was the only one. But yeah,
Yeah,
it was a marathon to watch.
yeah. And coming off of the Sunflower Sweep, yay. It seems like whenever we have like a really big weekend, the weekday game is just kind of like this. It's just a wet fart, basically. And that's how I would describe the game up against Wichita State. It was God, it was not fun. Like I was at this game, went to it with a friend, and first off, credit to Wichita State, their bullpen is very funny. Yeah, their bullpen is a collection of characters that are all pretty funny. I don't think they were very big fans of me in particular, though. Um, Not going to say why, but let's just say that they are good at talking, so am I. So, and it takes a real man to talk down six. But only cowards talk while they're leading. Real men talk crap when they're down. But yeah, this was just not a good day. It for anything really. I mean, the only person for K State that I think had a genuinely good day is Cole Weisenbaker. And that's because he got exactly Kyler Haney. Kyler Haney and Cole Weisenbaker both had pretty solid days. Kyler Haney, I think, got left in too long. And
Yeah, he
Weisen
gave up one home run, but it
it was
was
like on
to
his
dead.
43rd pitch.
Yeah, and it was like to dead center, so like the it was just a perfectly hit ball, and I'm not too upset with Kyler Haney for that.
Yeah. And I got to hear Weisenbaker's entrance music, which is House of the Rising Sun, which is probably one of my favorite entry walk-up songs on the team. The Animals version, by the way, not the Five Finger Death Punch cover, in case you were wondering, but no one was. But I Nick Goodwin, Brady Day, and Kalen Culpepper each record 2 hits. Kalen Culpepper gets 3 RBI on the day, including a double and a home run. Kalen Culpepper was doing his absolute darndest to carry this team to victory with an occasional assist from Roberto Pena. But
Yeah,
just not, there's nothing about this game that went right.
yeah.
And I think we have to kind of talk about who started the game. I think we have to kind of talk about it.
I really don't want to, but I think you're right.
You want to start?
Yeah, Jackson Wentworth got moved to weekdays um, after just not really performing up to the expectation that we need for the third weekend starter, and he just had a crappy outing. Uh, when he went 3 innings through 59 pitches, gave up 6 runs, all of them earned, 8 hits, did not record a strikeout. Um, it's clear with Jackson Wentworth that the command hasn't fully returned. He's coming off of a Tommy John surgery. Um, and the command and control is just not entirely back yet. And I think we want to keep getting him pitches because we want him to get that command back through experience. But we also need to win baseball games. And he's been really struggling. He's had moments of being really good, um, out of the bullpen,
Mm-hmm.
especially. But yeah, this was a really, really bad outing. I think he gave up a home run on the first pitch of his outing, so I think
Yeah.
I think that maybe there was a bit of a hint there that we should have taken a little earlier. But Pete Hughes on the pregame show said he wanted to get 4 to 5 innings out of Jackson Wentworth, and we could only get 3, and just not good. The Wichita State team, they came out hitting, and they were very, very aggressive.
Yeah. And I don't want to dogpile on the guy because he's had a rough season, but I really do think that probably the best role for him, at least for this foreseeable future, is probably long relief or even middle relief. I don't want to relegate him to mop up guy duty. I do like even though he's having a rough year, I think he's too good to be mop up guy. I really do. But I think as it stands right now, the I think Rothermel, despite the subpar outing against KU, I don't I I do put weight into those runs being unearned. Um, I think he's solidified himself as the number 3 weekend starter, and I think our best option for weekday starter now is Mason Buss because Mason Buss he gives up 3 and 2 innings, so not great, and he didn't have the best outing against Air Force. No one had a good outing against Air Force, but I think the best option for weekday starter is probably Mason Buss now, and Jack Wentworth should probably be more long relief. If anything, I'd kind of flip the roles that Buss and Wentworth have.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I like Wentworth for long relief, taking the Carson Seymour arc from a couple of years ago. I think that there could be some merit to that. I remember Carson Seymour having a fantastic outing in the Big 12 tournament a couple of years ago
Mm-hmm.
out of the pen. He gave us 6 innings of relief, scoreless relief, I believe. Don't remember the opponent, but He was really good in that. I could see Jackson Wentworth, if he's able to regain some of his command, uh, being able to come in and, like, if a starter gets blown up, give us a solid 3, maybe 4. I think Jackson Wentworth could really excel doing that, and then step into being a starter next year when he'll be fully recovered. Because Tommy John is just such a hard injury to come back from as a pitcher. Like, so it's hard to hold it against him because, I mean, Tommy John sucks. So it's tough to really dog on him for that. But at the same time, you do have to win games, especially when you're trying to fight to be on the bubble to get to the NCAA tournament. But dropping this game against Wichita State after the sweep, that's a heartbreaker because you build up all that goodwill, jump like 16 spots in the RPI, just to drop a whole midweek game. Super tough.
Yeah. And I think we can sort of end off our talk about baseball. Firstly, the next series is against UC Irvine. That starts tomorrow at 8. I'm not sure if they have announced starters yet. Let's see if they have. The weekend starters are, yep, it's the same 3: Borma, Fajardo, and Rothermel. Which, yeah, I expected that. It's in California. It's game number 40 on the year. I I got to take 2 out of 3 there. And the reason why you got to take 2 out of 3 is because K-State was tied or was in sole possession of second place in the Big 12, a half game behind Texas. I'm not sure if that's the case anymore, but they were making noise, and they had a solid Big 12 record, solid overall conference record, but the RPI is terrible.
Yeah, because the non-conference schedule was not good. Plus, you drop that game to St. Thomas. That's gonna drop you pretty hard. So,
Yeah,
yeah, the RPI is not where it needs to be. We need to be much higher than we were 79 going into Wichita State. Don't know what it is now, but UC Irvine is a top 40 RPI squad, I think, top 50 for sure. But they're really good. So if we can take 2 out of 3 against them, that would be massive.
yeah. I to everyone who after that good stretch of games and the sweep up against KU, saying that this is a team that will make it to Omaha, or that this is a regional team. I would ask you to. I'm not saying that it's impossible that it could. I'm not saying that it can't happen. I am, however, saying that you should probably lower your expectations. And that is coming from someone who loves this team. And I'm going to be brutally honest in a way, with the way only someone with love in their heart could be. This is an unbelievably fun team. An unbelievably fun team who can pull off some amazing wins and have some amazing performances, but they just don't have the consistency to really be a regional team, especially with the non-conference schedule they had.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, but anyway, on that happy note, let's go through wacky segment of the week. And the wacky segment of the week is, if you could change one thing about a current K-State athlete, what would it be? And you can't just say make them the best at their position. So like it has to be, like, for example, you could make Will Howard like 6'8" or something like that.
All right. I think I'd make Ayokali be able to dunk.
I'm really, I'm really kind of upset that you chose that, because I was going to say I wish Eliza Maupin could dunk in games. Anyway, I'll
I'm
change my
sorry.
answer. I'll change my answer then. And I guess I'll make my answer. I wish Will Howard was like 265, just because I think it'd be hilarious it's already going to be hilarious watching like a poor defensive back get sent on a blitz to try and tackle Will Howard. Because he's like probably up to 245, 250 at this point. That is a defensive end who can throw dimes.
Yeah. He's a big dude. So yeah, they're going to be good for his pocket strength.
Yeah. The alternative answer was making Phillip Brooks run like a 4-1.
That would be unprecedented, actually.
Yeah,
So
it would literally be unprecedented move here. That that's a deep pull that like maybe two people who are listening to this will ever understand.
at most, too.
At most. But yeah, do you have any final thoughts, Connor?
I don't. I don't have any thoughts about anything ever.
Same. You and I have done a good job of faking it for what, 1 3/4 years?
We have. They'll never figure it out.
You'll never figure it. Oh, we
Oops.
were still recording. Oh well. Anyway, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. If you want to follow the show or contact us, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Aggieville Alleycats. That's capital A, and capital C in cats. If you want to email us, we're at AggieVilleAlleycats@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on a more personal note, I am at AC Edwards00.
I'm at Connor Baltazar, capital C, capital B.
And if you want to support the show financially, please be sure to check out the official Aggieville Alleycats merch store where you can find such designs as the staff-approved Doomtang Clan, Play Sandstorm Cowards, and Neon Alleycats. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast, where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. Stay safe, Alleycats.